So the next topic is climate change. Now, climate change refers to a change in the state of the climate that persists for an extended period, typically decades or longer. Climate change may be due to natural internal processes or external forcing such as modulation of the solar system cycles, volcanic eruptions, and persistent anthropogenic changes in the composition of the atmosphere or in land use. Impact of climate changes. Global warming. If the temperature continues to rise, some areas may become uninhabitable and farms may turn into deserts. The rise in temperature may also have the opposite effect in some areas. Heavy rains may cause floods. The worst effect of temperature rise will be on poor countries because they do not have the money to adapt to climate change. Due to the rise in temperature, the crisis of food and water for living beings will increase. Second, acid rain. It is naturally acidic. The reason for this is that sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxide in the Earth's atmosphere react with water to form nitric acid and sulfuric acid. Acids in acid rain come from two types of rain: air pollution, SO2 and NO2. These pollutants are initially emitted from factory chimneys, burning of buses, and get mixed in the atmosphere. Due to acid rain, death of aquatic animals, decline in the growth of fields and plants, mixing of deadly elements like copper and lead in water, all these ill effects can be seen. It weakens materials and structures which damages building made of marble, limestone, sandstone, etc. Next topic, ozone layer depletion. Ozone is formed by the action of sunlight on oxygen. It forms a layer 20 to 50 km above the surface of the earth. Due to various man-made types of compounds like chlorofluorocarbons or CFCs are present in stable state in the atmosphere, these compounds are not decomposed by any biological process. Once they reach near the ozone layer, they react with ozone molecules. As a result, a hole is formed in the ozone layer. Through these holes, harmful radiations coming from the sun reaches the lower layers of the atmosphere, which is considered responsible for skin cancer. Next, nuclear accident and destruction, an event which has a huge impact on the lives of people, effect on the surface or the environment. For example, fatal effects on people, reactor core meltdown, etc. Radioactivity and its fallout lead to cancer, genetic disorders, and death in the affected area for decades after, thus affecting all forms of life generation to come. Next, role of central and state governments in disaster management. So first, central government. Disaster Management Act of the central government in 2005. The central government was given a major role. The central government will take appropriate and necessary measures for disaster management when necessary. The central government will include plans and projects for disaster prevention, development, mitigation, proper allocation of funds for pre-disaster needs and preparation by the central ministries and departments. The central government has the authority to deploy security forces on the recommendation of the state government if required towards SDMA, MEC and NEC. Next, state government. The primary responsibility for disaster management rests with the states. The institutional mechanisms put in place at the center, state and district levels will help the states manage disasters in an effective manner. The Disaster Management Act 2005 mandates the state government to take measures for preparedness of state disaster management plans, integration of measures of prevention of disasters or mitigation into state development plans, allocation of funds, establishment of early warning systems, and to assist the central government in various aspects of disaster management. Next topic, disaster preparedness. Disaster preparedness is defined as actions taken in advance of a disaster to ensure adequate response to its impacts and the relief and recovery from its consequences is performed to eliminate the need for any last minute actions. Key components of disaster preparedness: strengthening of policy, technical and institutional capabilities in regional, national and local disaster management as well as human and material resources. Next is promoting and supporting dialogue, exchange of information and coordination with the aim of fostering a holistic approach towards disaster risk reduction, stretching and developing coordinated regional approaches to prepare or review and periodically update disaster preparedness plans at all levels, promoting the establishment of emergency funds wherever needed to support preparedness measures. Types of preparedness: The preparedness activities can be divided into three types, namely target-oriented preparedness, task-oriented preparedness, and disaster-oriented preparedness. First, target-oriented preparedness. Preparedness plans are target-specific, and for instance, the focus is laid on making different types of planning for the vulnerable groups like women, children, elderly, and disabled. It also focuses on animals. Livestock preparedness plan. This may include preparatory work on database that provides information with regard to hazards, community profile, livestock profile, and animal at risk, assessment of resources including veterinary personnel, drugs, and equipment. Next, community-based disaster management (CBDM) plan. The preparatory work for CBDM plan to safeguard lives, livelihood, and property, and in this context, involvement of community or people is integral to disaster preparedness. Coordination plan. It is pertinent that coordination between all the institutions or agencies, government and non-government, takes place systematically. Next, task-oriented preparedness, mapping, planning, forming disaster task forces, creating structures for coordination, promoting awareness campaigns, training of members of task force, operationalizing disaster management. Third one is disaster-oriented preparedness. It can be of structural and non-structural. Structural preparedness measures are proactive and reactive measures. These are used to arrest the adverse impact of disasters. Non-structural preparedness measures, it include administrative and regulatory legislation, insurance schemes, information education and training, and creation of public awareness. Next topic is disaster mitigation approaches. It can be divided into two approaches like structural approach and non-structural approach. Structural approach, it is divided into engineered structures and non-engineered structures. Engineered structures is about the structure that is constructed by architects and engineers. This approach involves various activities like planning and designing of bridges, dams, roads, etc. Non-engineered structures is something which is constructed by local people with the available local knowledge and skills. It is constructed by locally available mason carpenters, etc. Non-structural approach, this approach of the disaster mitigation is a human behavior oriented, which does not focus on the engineered structures. It is called as a man adapts nature.